There are many places with extraordinary realities, but you certainly would never imagine that there could be a country that was born after one of the greatest natural disasters in human history. And that, in this place, to prevent a man from having multiple wives, the government has created a series of taxes to make it increasingly expensive and complicated. In this new video on our channel, we will get to know Bangladesh in more detail, one of the most remote, unknown, but at the same time extraordinary countries on the planet. Bangladesh is one of the most densely populated and dirtiest places on the planet, with street stalls that will astonish you and where you would hardly stop to eat. It is a country where a man can have, as long as he can support them, more than 4 wives at the same time, although the government tries to prevent this in a surprising way. It is one of the most densely populated, as well as polluted and dirty countries, with extraordinary curiosities, such as being one of the world's leading exporters of clothing, having the largest mangrove forest in the world, or having experienced one of the greatest catastrophes and tragedies in history, which, although it may seem strange, helped create this nation. Pay attention and don't miss this video, as we assure you that discovering Bangladesh with us will surprise you. Let's begin. Bangladesh is one of the most fertile areas on the planet. This reality is related to the fact that the country is home to one of the most biodiverse and unique regions on the planet, known as Sundarbans. Sundarbans is the largest mangrove forest in the world, spanning Bangladesh and the Indian state of West Bengal. This vast expanse of mangroves is not only a vital green lung for the region, but also a crucial ecosystem for the survival of various species. This extraordinary and unique place is home to the famous Bengal tiger, an iconic and endangered species. In addition to these tigers, the Sundarbans also host a wide variety of wildlife, including crocodiles, Ganges dolphins, and an incredible diversity of birds and fish. The mangroves provide a unique habitat that supports these species, offering shelter and a rich food source. The interdependence between flora and fauna in Sundarbans makes this ecosystem extraordinarily resilient, but also vulnerable to environmental changes. Its geographical position at the confluence of major rivers and its proximity to the sea make it particularly susceptible to flooding and cyclones, but it is also one of the most productive regions in terms of agriculture and fishing. Bangladesh is also one of the most densely populated countries on the planet. With a population of over 160 million inhabitants, it is the 8th most populous country in the world. Its population density is one of the highest on the planet, with approximately 1,265 people per square kilometer. This extreme density, coupled with the fact that Bangladesh is one of the world's leading exporters of clothing and textiles, imposes significant challenges in terms of infrastructure and resources, making it one of the most polluted countries on the planet, as you will see next. The origin of Bangladesh as a nation is relatively recent and has much to do with one of the greatest catastrophes in history. As you will see now, a monstrous cyclone that claimed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, known as Cyclone Bowler. Cyclone Bowler occurred on the 13th of November, 1970 and was one of the deadliest cyclones in history, killing between 300,000 and 500,000 people in the Ganges Delta region, which includes what is now Bangladesh, then known as East Pakistan. The way the government of West Pakistan, which then controlled what is now Bangladesh, dealt with the disaster was considered extremely ineffective and negligent. The lack of a swift and adequate response to the natural disaster fueled the existing discontent among the people of East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, who felt marginalized and exploited by the central government of West Pakistan. The exception of disregard and negligence heightened the political and social tension, and in the general elections of December that year, the Awami League Party, led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and with its support base in East Pakistan, achieved a landslide majority in the National Assembly. Despite this, the government of West Pakistan was reluctant to transfer power. These tensions eventually led to the revolt of East Pakistan and the outbreak of the Liberation War in March 1971. The war culminated in Bangladesh's independence on the 16th of December, 1971, after intense fighting and with the support of India. Thus, the catastrophe of Cyclone Bowler had a direct impact on the independence process of Bangladesh, as it exacerbated tensions between East and West Pakistan and catalyzed the events that led to the Liberation War. Consequently, Bangladesh gained independence from Pakistan in 1971, following a brutal liberation war that left deep scars on its people and land. The rich culture of Bangladesh is also reflected in its language, Bengali, which is the mother tongue of the vast majority of its population. The country also has a vibrant literary and artistic tradition, with prominent figures such as the poet Rabindranath Tagore, who was the first non-European to win the Nobel Prize in Literature. An interesting fact about Bangladesh is its significant role in the global textile industry. Bangladesh is one of the largest exporters of clothing and textiles in the world, and its economy heavily depends on this sector. Additionally, the country has made significant advances in areas such as microfinance, with Grameen Bank, and its founder, Muhammad Yunus, winning the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006 for his efforts to create economic and social development from the ground up. This reflects the resilient and entrepreneurial spirit of the country, which continues to face and overcome significant challenges. Despite this progress, Bangladesh is considered one of the dirtiest countries in the world, and now you will easily understand many of the reasons for this reality. Bangladesh is known for its high number of flies, which poses an additional challenge for any tourist or visitor to the country. If you wish to visit this place, it is advisable to bring insect repellent in your luggage to protect yourself from these pests and enjoy your stay in the country. This situation reflects the sanitation and cleanliness issues that the country faces, including difficulties in waste management and maintaining public hygiene in many cities. In the country, litter bins are notable for their absence, and the amount of rubbish is colossal due to realities such as the country being one of the main creators and exporters of clothing in the world. All of this leads to pests like flies and other realities that you will now get to know in more detail. Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh, is the most developed urban area in terms of quality of life, but it is also the most populous city, with around 23 million inhabitants, and one of the 10 most densely populated cities on the planet. This large concentration of people increases the cleanliness and sanitation problems. The crowded streets and the lack of adequate services contribute to the accumulation of rubbish and unsanitary living conditions, which are closely related to the short life expectancy of its inhabitants compared to developed countries. It is important to understand that Bangladesh is one of the poorest economic nations in the world, a country where most people earn less than $2 a day and carry out their work in a rudimentary manner. The minimum wage in the country is only $95, which makes the average income extremely low. This widespread poverty limits the government's and citizens' ability to invest in infrastructure or healthy living conditions, leading to increased hygiene and pollution problems in the country. Furthermore, these low wages make the country one of the cheapest places for labor in the world, attracting large international companies. Many renowned global brands have factories in the country, taking advantage of these low labor costs. Unfortunately, many of these locations often do not follow strict environmental standards, contributing to pollution and the deterioration of air and water quality. Walking through the streets of the capital of the country, it is common to see people carrying objects on their heads due to the lack of access to vehicles. Additionally, many tangled wires on posts reflect the precarious infrastructure of the country, a scene that seems to hark back centuries and demonstrates the dire conditions in which much of the population lives. The flow of traffic on the roads of Bangladesh is chaotic, with vehicles constantly moving and little regulation. Pedestrians face numerous dangers when crossing the streets due to the lack of overpasses or underground systems and the absence of traffic lights in many squares, where the flow of traffic relies on police direction. Public transport in Bangladesh is also limited and of poor quality. Old, overcrowded, and uncomfortable buses are the primary option in rural areas, while in cities, bicycle taxis are common. Many of these taxis operate without motors, relying solely on human effort. Cyclists, usually men who display signs of hard labor, often have to navigate through difficult traffic conditions, with no cycling lanes or specific routes.